I mean, like, it just cut right through it. Leaf spring and all. No problem. So, shop Harbor Freight, I guess. All right, I want to be perfectly clear about where we're at in this build. Day 5. Well, actually, this is the 5th day that I've physically laid hands on the truck. Let's put it that way. I've thought about it a lot. I've sat in that cab a lot because that's fun to do. If you're not sitting in your truck dreaming, are you really building a project car? Are you really a mini trucker? I don't know. I've sat in this thing and dreamt and worked through some problems a lot. But here's where we're at. Let's get you up to speed. Day 5 in the build. Not much has changed since that last video. For poops and giggles, I'm starting to work through some issues in my head. The truck is not sitting on its mounts yet. It's just kind of hanging out. So I'm waiting on some parts to come in. So I'm starting to figure out like what I'm gonna do with the clutch master. It's laying pinch right now. It's still on the pinch. I haven't cut anything. At this point in time, it's still on the pinch, okay? So it fits on a 215, 35, 18. Aired out, completely on the ground. Completely laid out. Matter of fact, it's so laid out, the frame will actually roll because it's not on the mounts yet. And you can see the master even moving some. So depending on where it goes, that may or may not work. It doesn't matter. We want some clearance for safety's sake. The other thing that won't happen is the steering, because you can see the steering doesn't line up with the dash. Now you can do some crazy U-joints and Heims and all that stuff, but what I've seen some people do in the past, and actually how that 4Runner behind me is done over there, it's very common. I don't know why this notch is here. I don't. But it's very common that people will just notch this top of this control arm and plate it back in.
All right, I'm gonna go for it.
All right. Backing in the body mounts. Just moving right along. I think we're at day 53. So many nuts. So we have to be on the road. I am certainly not the master of doing this, but this is how we came up with our body mount situation. Is before we took everything apart, we left our frame rails together with our body mounts just for reference. And we took a couple of pages of gibberish measurements, right? So that we had reference points when we put it all back together. Now I'm sure a smart guy would have had this on a frame table and used jigs and everything like they do for auto body to get all this mocked back up. But basically, we just make sure that all our points match up. 25.5 to 32 to a tranny mount. 20 to 20, 46.5 across. 7.5 from there to there, 46.5 across from there, 44 from this mount to this mount, and if all those match up, well, we send it. That's what I want right there. All right, so now that our mounts are tacked in, it's time to start tackling our tranny Crossmember. I'm gonna set this down with this wonderful little tripod and do some splaining. I haven't even looked at the last issue. I don't even know where I put it. Since we got the body mounts kind of tacked in, the next thing that we need to tackle before we start putting the engine and tranny in is, well, a tranny Crossmember. So here's how I'm gonna attempt to do that. Again, just trying to improve on what I did last time. Full transparency, you saw. Add a piece of metal I just threw in there. Well, I wanna make it a little bit nicer. So what I'm gonna do is take this guy here, this piece of metal. We're gonna use this for our hoop. This is 3/16, should be plenty thick enough because I can tell you it's 4 times thicker than what I used last time and I had no issues. We're gonna take some bushings. I've already disassembled these bushings, right? So we got the little rubber bushings, polyurethane, whatever goes in there. We're gonna put these guys on the end and then we're gonna repurpose these tabs, cut these down, weld those to there, run some grade 8 hardware through there. That's gonna allow us to bolt this cross member in and out. We're gonna make a new plate for our mount to go on and determine where it needs to be to get a nice drive shaft, pinion, angle situation going on. I mean, we figure we're cutting the floor anyway, so who cares? And then once we figure out where our exhaust is gonna come through after we set the engine and tranny back in, That's when I'll determine the proper location for this rusty piece of tube. Nice big quarter wall. And we'll just split this and weld that in so that our exhaust can pass through. Fun stuff if you want a body drop. Got the young eyes in here welding, making sure the job's doing right.
Got a nice big tack on there.
Cool. That's what we need.
I'll probably do another one on the quad.
Hey, you do what you want. No. These guys came to admire Brandon's fine work. Look at that. You want your mini truck to turn out better? Get your young ass 16-year-old son out there in the garage with fresh young eyes to do some welding, because man, I'm telling you, he's killing it. I'm so proud of this kid. Maybe he can make all my gobbledygook over here look better before we're done. And if you're wondering how we're gonna make it right, it's by using quality parts from great companies like THOR Bros and Ballistic Fab. Look at these great little tabs. I got boxes of goodies over here that are gonna be coming into play to help me build this nicer and better, but I think good strong stuff like this will definitely help. This is just mock-up, but this is 3/16. I'm probably gonna use the same quarter wall that I used down here on the main rails to do my Crossmember. We're gonna go ahead and replicate this design because it works well. I mean, the truck rides great. I know everybody has their opinions of bag over axle, bag on bar. I actually ordered the stuff myself to swap to bag on bar. So, you know, I mean, will it ride better bag on bar? Everybody says so. Personally, I don't know. Well, we're gonna, one, make it safe, and two, we're gonna make it look good and not ugly, because clearly this didn't work and it's ugly. So, yeah. Link in description below to all these rad parts. Let's weld this right to the rear end so it doesn't move on us before we go cutting all this out of here, because we're gonna cut this whole Crossmember out, start from scratch. That's gonna allow us to plate and tie into this area here for our new frame clip. And as far as like, are you asking about all the, yeah, we're gonna cut all that away and all new brackets. And everything on that side, everything on the axle side will stay, but everything on the Crossmember side, we're gonna cut loose and start from scratch. We're gonna fix this mess. Look at that bubble gum. Oh my gosh, it's not even a weld. Horrible, horrible. Okay, so necessary or unnecessary to unhook the shocks and take the bags out? I don't know. But I feel better getting in there to weld these supports in. So we tacked it down to the axle and we tacked it to the frame. Hopefully that'll keep this guy from moving on us. If you have questions about these bags, hey, they did me pretty good. These were not what I originally put in my truck. Nothing happened to the ones that were in my truck. But when we did my buddy's Nissan build, these were a little too large in diameter for the front of his truck. They would have had some rubbing issues. So we put these big ones in the back of mine somewhere halfway through the year, and then put his small ones up front. Just to, you know, be a good friend and save some money. Because why buy bags if you don't have to? They worked. I've had no issues. So if you want a review on the Air Max half-inch 1500 or 150 PSI, 2600 bags or whatever, my reviews are, they worked pretty good for 12,000 miles or so. And no sense ruining them. There's no holes in them or nothing, so I took them off before I got into all this. Okay, I'm babbling. Time to cut. Get ready for a time lapse. This is what all the YouTubers do. This is where they kick in and start doing funny stuff and quit their full-time jobs. They make shirts based off of like breakfast foods. Buy my merch! sit back, keep laughing, and enjoy the show. I mean, that's what I'd do. Make friends. Makes the job way easier. Become a likable person if you want to be in the Matrix. Fun fact, you guys remember I bought a plasma cutter, right? It caved. That sound you hear? That's a leaf spring I welded underneath, you know, after I started dragging through my frame. Making this really fun. Yeah, buddy. It's like 60 bucks. Can't beat that. Let's do the other side. Yeah, buddy. For the record, Harbor Freight in no way endorses this channel, but they should, because that thing made like really quick work of this. I mean, like, it just cut right through it. Leaf spring and all. No problem. So, shop Harbor Freight, I guess. Yeah. Sparks, baby, sparks. Just a little bit of damage. All right, let's take a second to show you where we're at and what we're up to. We've got it all cleaned up and just starting to mock some pieces in here. And yeah, I don't know if this is where I call it for the day and go visit the metal shop to get some different stuff. But I'm probably gonna keep mocking up this idea with at least some scrap tubing, kind of like this mess over here. Not that mess, that's a whole different mess. This mess over here is what I was referring to. I might just use my scrap tubing to, you know, kind of put some pieces in place, come up with a design, and figure out what I like. But I may go get some heavier duty stuff before I actually build. One thing you need to take note of, as we pointed out the first time we did that, is from the factory, that third member is not centered. It sits to the passenger side, so don't let it fool your eye. This hoop is centered. That third member is not. So remember that while you're building. Trust me, I did you guys a favor by like not even time-lapsing that. I did so much back and forth on this thing. Now everything's just tacked. It's gonna be cut back out so I can weld it completely. I still have to put the 4-link brackets in. And yeah. I think this is the final design I ended up with, I think. But we've got to do all the 4-link tabs, and I want to get those up on the bench, welded nicely and stuff, and then put the whole cross member in and weld it in place. But I don't want to weld the brackets down there. I want to weld them up on a bench or a table somewhere, so we can get good penetration on those puppies. No boogers this time around. No wads of gum. So, we're getting there. A lot of boring stuff. This isn't a step-by-step how-to because I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but this is where we're going. The thought is we're gonna take some tubing and come in here. We're gonna, you know, plate all this stuff still has to get plated on the outsides, plated here. But we're definitely gonna do some tubing, you know, some triangulation here. Still a huge work in progress, but I think this is where we're headed. Let Get you a look from this side. Maybe you can see a little bit more. But I think this is what we're doing. You can see I still got to cap these guys in back where I bent those in. I think this thing looks a lot cleaner. I'm gonna leave the beef on the bottom. But all this is pretty silly. You're never gonna see it anyways. Things we worry about that other people will never even see. I mean, I'll never see it once the bed's on. Silly. Kind of the money shot. Our body mounts are lined up. You gotta love it. It's good.